still coming through from San Diego. Still makes me worry very much about him in the midst of this coming hurricane that's supposed to just completely destroy the city of San Diego. It's the one and only Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman.
Still sunny, Derek. I'll believe it when I see it, you know?
I know you're still skeptical. We call you the Thunderstick for a reason, though, and this is why. You're kind of like a storm chaser when it comes to this thing. There's no fear in you. None at all.
No, honestly, that's a real thing. I think I told you guys about this the other day. I legitimately would like go storm chasing. I would say when I was a kid, but this was like a year ago. When it's monsoon season, if it's not raining where you are, it's usually raining somewhere. So I would persuade people to come with me and hop in the car and go storm chasing. Understandably, my family members were not always on board as I was, but it was a good time. I have no fear, Derek. I am happy to be where the in the path of the tropical storm. It doesn't bother me a bit.
All right. Is there something wrong with my mic? Apparently, Jesse's good, but the studio.
I think there might be something wrong with your mic. Yeah.
When you're not here, Jesse.
Should we trade one?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We're going to trade the mic out, but Jesse, you entertain the people right now because, of course, you were there with the team in San Diego.
I was, yeah. I know a lot of people. There was a lot of chatter in the Discord today just about Justin Martinez and what he was able to do last night and just how big that was for the morale of this baseball team. I think there's kind of like this element of a bullpen that is even more important than other facets of the game in some ways. Like I can't really imagine what it does to the psyche of a baseball team when you have guy after guy go out there in the 8th and 9th innings and really struggle and blow some games that you really felt like you should have won. I think it can really have maybe even a mental sort of effect on a baseball team. So, what Justin Martinez was able to do last night, avoiding that kind of scenario when the Diamondbacks were down, their highest leverage relief arms, it was huge. We back? Can Derek speak again?
I think I'm back. But of course, one thing that, we have talked about or kind of discussed a little bit has been Corbin Carroll's kind of recent bad play, right? We know Corbin Carroll has struggled at times. At times he was the clear-cut favorite for the Rookie of the Year race, but now, as he's kind of cooled off and some of his other respective opponents in this race have kind of heated up a bit themselves. It's not such a front runner kind of situation for Carroll anymore.
I think he's still the front runner. I want to make that clear. If the season ended today, Corbin Carroll wins Rookie of the Year, maybe unanimously. I think he's had that good of a season and is still in that good of a position. But yeah, he has struggled for a long time, frankly. Corbin Carroll, we're going on, I believe it's more than 50 games at this point with an OPS under 700 on the season. That's tough. Like that is obviously taken an enormous chunk out of some of his rate stats. The batting average has certainly fallen. His OPS was near 1,000. Like a month and a half ago, and now it's in the low 800s. But yeah, I mean, the good news for him is that he built such an enormous lead over any of the competition that he literally could afford to have 2 bad months essentially and still be pretty comfortably in the lead as of right now. That said, as we're going to talk about, there are some guys who are also in this race in the National League who very much have a chance to catch Carroll down the stretch, if they're able to finish strong and if Carroll's lull continues the rest of the way.
I apparently am now actually back. I said a lot of nice things about Damon last night at the end of the podcast, and I take them all back, every single one of them back, just all of it. The loving him part, all of it.
I take zero blame, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to blame everybody but myself. I never take personal accountability for these situations. But another guy that's also in his own respective race that kind of has had his ups and downs, but still kind of seems to be in the mix, is Zach Gallen for the National League Cy Young. So before we get to Corbin Carroll, which I know a lot of people are, worried about, let's take a look at Zach Gallen's potential for winning the Cy Young. And before we take a look at these numbers, Jesse, what's kind of your personal feeling? What's your gut feeling when it comes to Gallen's ability to win the Cy Young this year?
I think he's also the front runner as of right now.
You think so?
And right. I think he is. I don't think the margin is big, as we're going to get into here. I think it's pretty dang close with a lot of guys in this race. This is not at all like what we saw in 2022, where there was Sergio Alcantara and then there was, or Sandy Alcantara, Sergio Alcantara winning a Cy Young. Now that would really be something. Sandy Alcantara was far out in front of the competition, and it was obvious for, it felt like months through the end of the season that was going to be, he was going to be the guy to win that award. Zach Gallen is definitely not in that position, but I do think he is the front runner at this point. And a lot of that, frankly, has to do with what we saw yesterday, and, the Padres hitting atom ball after atom ball, and somehow Zach Gallen coming away with 6 1/3 innings of 1 run. That very much helped his case. If he had given up, 5 or 6 runs yesterday, I don't know if I would still be viewing him as the front runner right now. It's that close.
Well, let's take a look at the comparison and see how close things are for Zach Gallen and some of his competitors. Blake Snell seems to be the one of the guys that's a favorite in this race. And as you can see here, numbers are pretty comparable to Gallen, and that ERA thing still kind of favors Snell, and honestly favors a lot of guys when it comes to Zach Gallen. Probably his biggest weakness when comparing him to some of these other pitchers.
The ERA here is what puts Snell in this race for sure. 2.65. That's obviously really good. I believe 2.65 is the best in the National League, at least of guys who have pitched enough to be in this race legitimately. So that goes a long way. ERA, I still think, is probably the most important stat. There's a lot of numbers that matter in the Cy Young race, but I think ERA is still the most important one. And Blake Snell does have a decent sized lead over Gallen at 2.65 compared to 3.17. You look at some of the other numbers here, though, Derek. You look at innings pitched probably being the biggest one. Snell only 136 compared to 162 for Gallen. That's a really big difference. That's 26 innings that Gallen is pitching and saving Diamondbacks relievers from, where Snell is not doing that. So I think record matters too, even though I don't know if it should, but I think it does. And Zach Gallen is 12-5 compared to 10-8 for Blake Snell. And the other numbers, all of the numbers on this list, 1.26 whip for Snell compared to 105 for Gallen. That's a big difference. And then this A-WAR that we have at the bottom here, sort of unconventional. A-WAR is just the average of Baseball Reference WAR and Fangraphs WAR. I just smushed them together in all of these numbers. So Gallen's at 4.2, Snell is at 3.5, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Gallen has thrown 26 more innings this season.
I know that we've talked in the past about this impacting Zach Gallen's chances at a Cy Young, but do you feel at all like the team's success should impact Zach Gallen as far as like his running, like the fact that the Diamondbacks are doing better, maybe, over a team like the Padres that are kind of, below expectations, where the Diamondbacks are, doing better, and he has a better winning percentage. Does that come into play at all, or do you think that most of the time the voters on this kind of look past that and look more at the stats?
That's a good question. I really don't know the answer to that. I would venture to guess that voters factor in team performance more so with an MVP award, where it's about, the value that one player has brought to their team. If that player's team didn't make the postseason, then maybe that's a knock against them. I don't necessarily agree with that. But yeah, with Cy Young, I think it's sort of just understood as like who is the best pitcher in each league. And maybe in the minds of voters that's not necessarily correlated as much with which team winds up with the best record at the end of the season. So sure. I don't really know the answer to that, but I wouldn't think it would be like, if the D-backs don't make the postseason, I don't think that means Zach Gallen can't win the Cy Young. I wouldn't view it that way at all.
All right. Well, we have a couple of other pitchers here that are also still in the running for the Cy Young Award. Zach Wheeler and Spencer Strider. And let's take a look at their numbers this year, because Spencer Strider, on a very good Braves team, still continues to put up good numbers. And Zach Wheeler having another surprisingly good season.
Yeah. These guys are definitely interesting. Both of them have fewer innings than Zach Gallen by a decent margin. Gallen, as we said earlier, was at 162. Wheeler's at 144. Strider's at 139.1. So I do think that's a pretty big knock against both of these guys. Gallen has a better ERA than both of them. He has a better WHIP than both of them. But we're still kind of within striking distance here with, maybe 7 starts remaining in the season. I think the margin between Gallen and these two guys is small enough that it could be made up the rest of the way. I will also say Spencer Strider, he has a FIP of, let me find it, a FIP of 2.95, which is really good. That's better than Zach Gallen's FIP. There's a lot of evidence that Spencer Strider has underperformed quite a bit this year with his 3.75 ERA. And I mean, the man is running like 14 strikeouts per 9. If Spencer Strider had an ERA anywhere close to his FIP, I don't think this race would even be close. I think Spencer Strider would probably beat Zach Gallen by a considerable margin. But as things stand right now, his ERA is somewhat significantly higher at 3.75, and he's thrown about 25 fewer innings at 139.1. So it's not necessarily all that close right now. I don't really see how Strider can win this without his ERA coming down significantly. But there's quite a bit of evidence that he's underperformed this year. He's going to probably be in this Cy Young conversation for many, many years to come.
All right, we have 2 more guys, Logan Webb and Justin Steele. These guys also have been having themselves quite a year. Logan Webb has a similar workload there as Zach Gallen with 163 innings pitched, 3.26 ERA, and that 1.07 WHIP with a 3.8 AWAR. And then Justin Steele, who is a guy that's just had an excellent season, part of that dynamic duo there for the Chicago Cubs. 126 innings pitched. I think he missed some time, a few starts with an injury, but he's still 13-3, which is just excellent with that 2.79 ERA, 1.17 WHIP, and the 3.1 AWAR. So two very, very good pitchers as well. And it feels like all of these guys are relatively close, but like you said, it still feels like Zach Gallen is the front runner by comparison, at least.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, all of these guys are we have them on here for a reason. I think they all have a chance with as many games are remaining in the season, but there are pretty clear knocks against all these guys. Like Logan Webb, I think he might be one of the closest, but he's 9-9. There's too many traditionalist baseball writers, frankly, for a guy to with a 500 record as a pitcher to win the Cy Young Award.
Right.
I wouldn't really vote based on that personally, but that's still something that I think people do place some degree of value on. It's going to be really hard to do that. It might not be impossible to win a Cy Young Award with a record around 500, but you probably have to far outperform your competition and all of the other numbers. And Logan Webb, as you were just saying, is really comparable to Zach Gallen in pretty much everything. The innings pitched are basically right there. Their ERAs are very similar. Their WHIPs are very similar. Logan Webb, I think, is underappreciated around the league. I love watching him pitch. I think he was 1 out shy of a complete game, I believe, the other day for the Giants. So, he's certainly deserving of his flowers, but it's pretty tough right now to pick Logan Webb over Zach Gallen when, Gallen is 12-5, Webb is 9-9, and Webb doesn't really have any clear advantages in any of the other stats.
And it's kind of funny because this is the thing that makes me feel like an old man, Jesse. Like at a time in my life, if you were a 20-game winner or close to a 20-game winner in Major League Baseball, that was as viewed as a stat that solidified you as much as your ERA or any other stat, right? But with time, we learned that really shouldn't be as important, right? Like a lot of things, like the way that ERA has kind of gone down as far as importance, and we start to look at some of these other numbers. I know the Diamondbacks, for instance, lead the league in fielding percentage, right? They have the fewest errors in all of the National League, But in watching this team, I don't know if you would really feel that same way. It's just a matter of, honestly, an error being kind of an arbitrary stat that's decided by somebody based on, a guy's range and not necessarily anything else other than how close you came to getting a ball and how much he thinks you should have caught it. But the Diamondbacks definitely have a lot of positive things going on when it comes to these awards. We're going to get this guy creeping by in the background. Look at, he just fresh off of his solo TPSP. It's the one and only Mr. Electric himself, Sean DePaz. But Jesse, Corbin Carroll, again, we talked about, there's some concern. There's a lot of people that are talking about, obviously the way that he has struggled since that injury scare. There's some questions about if he's still injured, which I am still very reluctant to believe. I just cannot believe that if there was any chance that Corbin Carroll was injured, that the Diamondbacks would let him be out there playing, potentially further injuring himself, potentially doing anything to jeopardize his future. I just can't believe that. I don't think this season is that important to them. I think the moves they made at the trade deadline kind of expressed that they weren't really willing to mortgage their future to do anything for this season. So I don't think that they're doing anything with Corbin Carroll as far as, him playing injured, which is what a lot of people seem to believe. I will believe that the injury has caused him just, maybe some additional thoughts at the plate that don't need to be thought, just additional thinking, which Corbin himself in the past has admitted that when you start to think at the dish, you're already kind of dead there, right? So it's got to be a process where you're not thinking about stuff, and maybe in some cases he's just thinking too much. But I still think that this also could be attributed to the struggles that any rookie goes through after, enough information is out there about them and their tendencies.
Yeah, I mean, sophomore slumps are a thing, right? And the idea of a sophomore slump is like an entire season where opposing teams kind of figure you out and for maybe 150 games, you kind of struggle up there at the plate. This is more than a slump. I will absolutely acknowledge that. I mean, Corbin Carroll, as I said before, it's rough. He at the top of the Diamondbacks lineup is just not really providing a whole lot of offense. I do think it's important to recognize that early in the season, at least according to some of the StatCast metrics, Corbin was maybe overperforming a little bit. His expected stats were generally lower than his actual stats for the first few months of the season. Some of that could be sustainable because Corbin is so incredibly fast, and StatCast sort of adjusts for that, but not quite as much as it probably should. Sure. So I do think he could have some ability moving forward to sustainably outperform what those numbers say, but the margin was pretty significant in the first couple months of the season. And what we've seen in the month of August with Corbin Carroll is he's actually underperformed those expected stats by a similar margin, a pretty wide margin. So just based off of those expected numbers, there's actually not that much variance from the beginning of the season to right now. It's pretty, there is some variance. His expected numbers this month are not as good as they've been, in the first couple months of the season, but the margin is relatively small. I think there's some reason to believe that Corbin was sort of overperforming and now he's underperforming, and, things will kind of balance out in the end. But yeah, the D-backs need him to get going, right? I mean, he's in the 2-hole, he's in the 3-hole. We've seen him bat leadoff. He's, a big part of this offense, and he was a huge part of why the Diamondbacks were so good in the first half of the season. And he's been, definitely a reason why the team has struggled over the last few weeks. He just hasn't been the same.
It's just funny, though, because Corbin Carroll already has become one of those guys that when you talk about him struggling, it's like, yeah, but how much has he struggled? I know he struggled quite a bit at times. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he hasn't, but over his last 7 road games coming into yesterday's start, for instance, he was hitting .317, and he's still third in the league in, stolen bases and a couple of other categories. Like you said earlier, it's part of it is that he padded his stats so much early on that he's been able to maintain a lead in some of these categories, even when he's not playing extremely well. But it kind of happens to all these guys. We've talked about this year, the James Outmans, the Ellie De La Cruzes, everybody that's kind of come up and gone back down as far as performance levels go, because it kind of happens to everybody when they make their major league debut and get a lot of time under their belt. But let's take a look at Corbin Carroll versus some of the men that Damon is going to now have to fight next. Of course, Damon's biggest target, McLean.
Matt McLean. That's the guy.
Yeah,
that's for Damon. That is the new public enemy number one.
That is public enemy number one, Damon. So do your research and make sure you figure this one out, because the man is almost hitting 300.
Watch out.
Former part of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization for a brief, short period of time.
Yeah, this is interesting. I think Corbin, as I said before, I think he is a clear front runner at this point. But you look at these numbers, Matt McLean has a higher batting average, 298 compared to 270. He has a higher OPS, 877 compared to 855. Really what Corbin has going for him is volume at this point. He's just played more games. He has more plate appearances than Matt McLean on a rate basis. Like if you extrapolate what Matt McLean has done this season to the number of plate appearances that Corbin Carroll has, Matt McLean, I think, actually comes out on top by a slight margin. So Corbin, starting the year on the major league roster is very much helping him out in this situation. And there is also merit to Corbin having these numbers over a larger number of plate appearances, right? Who's to say that Matt McLean, if you gave him another 150 plate appearances, would still have an 877 OPS? That's certainly not a given. But yeah, averaging out wins above replacement from Fangraphs and Baseball Reference, Corbin is at 4.1, Matt McLean is at 3.4. That's a difference of 0.7, and you can absolutely make that up in a month and a half. So this one is getting a little bit dangerous. It is somewhat in the danger zone. But what I really think Corbin has going for him is his home run number and his stolen base number. Corbin still has 21 home runs on the season. He has 37 stolen bases on the season. If he finishes with 25 and 40, 25 and 45, something like that, it's going to be really hard, I think, for voters to go any other direction with their vote. That's a pretty historic accomplishment for a rookie to have 25 home runs and 45 stolen bases in a season. So he might have a little bit more leeway, even if some of the rate stats don't look quite as good as McLean's when it's all said and done. So yeah, I do think Corbin Carroll is the front runner. What happens over the next 40 days, though, does absolutely matter.
Matt McLean isn't the only target for Damon, though. We got a couple of other faces here that we have to take a look at because, of course, there's some guys, they're just still hanging around, right? We got James Outman, of course. We know after Damon, did his thing, he came back down to earth, but lately he has been incredible, just absolutely incredible. He has a 357 on-base percentage. I think he still has one of the highest on-base percentages in the league since the All-Star break. He's got 14 home run, 51 RBI, 14 stolen bases, 2.8 average WAR, so still not, quite close to what Corbin Carroll's is. But, I mean, there's Kodai Senga, Ellie De La Cruz, Bobby Miller, Andrew Abbott. Like, it's very much a close race. Like like you said, there is time at this point for any of these guys to just have a breakout between now and the rest of the season and potentially not only become a threat to Corbin Carroll, but take away that Rookie of the Year that's so important to this team, right? I mean, this really is an important thing, not just as an award and an achievement for Corbin Carroll, but this is something major in regards to the organization getting that draft pick.
It is. Yeah, that's a good point. The Diamondbacks would get a draft pick. I believe it's at the end of the first round if Corbin Carroll finishes first in Rookie of the Year voting. So, yeah, there is maybe a little bit of pressure here. I don't necessarily think he's feeling the weight of that. You would hope he's not, but it is for the Diamondbacks. I mean, it's just a fact. Whether Corbin
he's acknowledged it, right? I mean, he said it's something that's on his mind and that's something that's important to him.
Yeah. He talked about how, it's cool to have the opportunity to win your team a draft pick. Like, that's weird. That's a new thing in baseball. And he would be one of the first rookies to ever do that. Julio Rodriguez, of course, did it last year for the Seattle Mariners. So some of those other names you mentioned, James Outman. James Outman is a player who I think he has a similar level of volume to Corbin Carroll in terms of playing time.
Yeah.
But the numbers just aren't as good. 2.8 WAR compared to 4.2. He's got quite a bit of ground to make up there the rest of the way. Kodai Senga, it's kind of difficult to compare a rookie pitcher with a rookie position player.
Sure.
From a wins above replacement standpoint, Senga's average WAR is at 2.7, so still a ways behind Carroll. But he is 9-6 with a 3.30 ERA and a 1.29 WHIP, and pitches in the New York market, which could work in his favor in some way. So I think he's at least a name to watch. Elly De La Cruz I put on this list because I feel like we should mention him. Because of course it wasn't that long ago that people were wondering, is Elly De La Cruz gonna take over the NL Rookie of the Year award?
Like as if this podcast didn't have episodes titled about that.
We did entertain that question. It was good for clicks, but yeah, Elly De La Cruz at this point has a 100 OPS plus. He's been a league average hitter. So yeah, he is not at all in this race, in my opinion. Bobby Miller and Andrew Abbott have both been great, but they're both sitting around 75 innings pitched in their rookie season. I just don't think there's going to be enough volume there for them to factor in this race, even though they've pitched really well. So it looks to me, Derek, like it pretty much comes down to Corbin Carroll versus Matt McLain, with James Outman and Kodai Senga on the outside looking in, maybe have some semblance of a chance. But McLain versus Carroll, I think, is what this will ultimately come down to.
And Jesse, that's very good for my very, very future bets that I made on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So I am excited in regards to that. And but I will say this. DraftKings does have a bantamweight battle for the belt going down for UFC 292 this weekend. I know we're not big fight guys over here, but I don't know. Tommy Pham's kind of changed my mind. I'm getting antsy to see a fight with Tommy Pham now on the team. So I think I might need to turn to the UFC. He's behaving himself very much, doing a very good job. He's hitting the baseball instead of people, but I might want to see people hit people. So Sterling versus O'Malley will fight for the bantamweight title, and I'm a big smaller guy kind of fan when it comes to UFC myself. So this Saturday, do not miss UFC 292. Will the current champ keep his crown? We will find out. Might be the challenger's time to shine. Get your bets in on the DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. New customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So do not miss out on the Sterling O'Malley fight this Saturday. I know I will be. I have my plans locked in to watch that, so do not miss that. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code PHNX. New customers can bet just $5 on UFC 292 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's this Saturday, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Jesse, I'm gonna do the disclaimer now. So if you want to take a powder. If you want to help me out, we could tag team, whatever. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. That's the most important part. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In West Virginia, text or visit www.1800gambler.net in the partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. All games regulated by West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.com, DraftKings, or sportsbook.draftkings.com/MMA terms. There we go. We got that all.
Proud of you guys. Derek.
I did it. We thank you guys for sticking with me through that. If you're here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, you're the real MVP. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so right now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live, and leave us a little thumbs up just because you like the way that I read disclaimers. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, there's no instant gratification for me from you people, but you can subscribe to the channel and you can leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback when it comes to that. Most importantly, Sign up to become a diehard today. We want you to become part of our PHNX family. Get yourself a free piece of merchandise from the PHNXlocker.com. Get yourself 20% off all future purchases. So much more. You get access to our members-only Discord lounge, where we are providing you with Discord members-only content. So much more. We got so much planned for you guys coming soon. So we thank you if you already are a diehard. If you aren't, sign up today. Again, members only invites to events. You got members only merchandise, discounts on stuff with our partners. You get a $50 gift card from Mountain Mike's Pizza. You get the Dobson Ranch golf card, so much more. So join us today and become a diehard member. Jesse, it's that time. Of course, we know that the Diamondbacks still haven't really worked their way back into our Major League Baseball power rankings, but they are very close, because things are very jumbled when you get down into kind of past these top 10 teams. And I don't even know if you could say the top 10, maybe once you get down to number 7 and below. But let's take a look at our power rankings for this week. We got the Braves still up there at number 1, but to be honest, I could very much see the Dodgers, who made a big leap this week, up 4 spots to number 2, even being ranked in that number 1 spot. Even though that they still haven't surpassed the Braves for their record, their run differential, the Dodgers have just been absolutely on fire lately.
Yeah, they have. The Dodgers have won 11 games in a row. It's kind of insane. They're also playing.
Lance Lynn is a Cy Young candidate. What else do we want to talk about?
Saw that coming.
Yeah, we all saw that. The people that who were fools is the people that didn't know that Lance Lynn was going to be turned into a Cy Young candidate. And right on time, it's like I say Dodgers, and there's Mo Schubert in the chat. It's amazing. This guy, it's like he's like Voldemort. You say his name, and here he is.
I do. Yeah. You know what? We definitely, it was a total oversight on my part to not include Lance Lynn in our Cy Young conversation at the beginning of the show. That's my bad. I mean, I know that ERA, I think it still starts with a 5, but it might be 2.5 in a month and a half. Who's to say? Elsewhere on this list, Derek, I don't know. Have we read the whole thing?
No, we have not. No, we have Dodgers at number 2. We have the Texas Rangers at 3, Houston Astros at 4, Baltimore Orioles at 5, Tampa Bay Rays at 6 for some reason. That team needs to be just taken right off of that. Seattle Mariners, Toronto Blue Jays, Philadelphia Phillies, and then last there on the list at 10 is the Chicago Cubs.
You don't want the Rays on the list at all? Is that what you
said? No. Until further investigations are done and complete, I am removing the Rays from everything right now. But I can only imagine that things are not well for that team, considering everything that Wander Franco is kind of putting that organization through, I guess, with these allegations. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get you off course with talk of, people acting like terrible human beings.
I almost used Wander Franco for the picture and decided that was just a step too far.
Probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. But let's take a look here. Texas Rangers remain in that same spot as last week at number 3. Houston Astros move up 1 spot to 4, and the Orioles drop down to 5th after getting swept by the Dodgers. I imagine that had something to do with it.
Yeah, the Orioles they've kind of just been sort of coasting recently, which is fine because, I mean, they're still 74 and 47, so I don't think there's any huge concerns there. But yeah, the Orioles are, obviously such a fun story, and, they're like the least hated team in baseball. I think I saw like a ranking of that at one point, like teams that people just like the most. And like, it's hard to hate the Orioles. Like no one really hates the Orioles right now. It's just, Cedric Mullins and Adley Rutschman and, Felix Bautista doing what he's doing at the end.
What do you hate young people? Do you hate fun?
Yeah.
That's how it feels if you don't like the Orioles.
Do you hate stolen bases? Do you hate like Gunnar Henderson?
Like you hate Christmas? What do you?
Yeah. You also must hate like all of the holidays if you hate the Orioles. That's the way it works. But I don't know if they're quite as good as their record indicates, to be frank. I mean, they're plus 58 on the season in terms of run differential, which is considerably lower than, the Rangers are 195, the Rays are 145. The Dodgers are well up into the 100s as well. So I don't know if they're quite that elite level team at this point. But I mean, still, they're obviously having an outstanding season, and they're in position to make the playoffs. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing them, once they get there and watching them once they're there. But yeah, they've dropped a little bit. A team that is not dropping right now, though,
Mariners,
is the Seattle Mariners.
Let's go.
The Seattle Mariners, since making the Paul Sewald trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks, a trade that was primarily a seller's move by Jerry Dipoto, the Mariners have gone 12-4 since then. They are now 66-55. They are half a game out of the wild card in the American League. So, yeah, I mean, the Mariners appear to be back. They really were just hovering around 500 for basically the entire first half of the season. And, over these last few weeks, they've started to gain some separation. Some of the bats are coming alive. And they're another team that people just like. Like, the Mariners are just a hard team to what could you possibly not? I mean, you hate Logan Gilbert? Do you hate Julio Rodriguez? Like, these are players that are young and exciting and fun and good all the way around for baseball. So, maybe the Mariners find their way into the postseason when it's all said and done.
I know a question a lot of Diamondbacks fans are probably asking when we drop a power rankings like this that have, teams that they're close to, like the Phillies and the Cubs on there. Where would the Diamondbacks land? Are they just outside of this? 11th, 12th, 13th?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably not, folks. Probably not. There's probably, but I don't feel like there's a wide margin of separation between them and maybe the teams that are in front of them. It would be easy for them to kind of continue on the pace that they've been over the last 5 or 6 games and leapfrog a bunch of those teams. But right now you can't argue that the teams that the Diamondbacks are better than the Giants or the Brewers that currently still leave their division, or the Reds that are in the hunt for their division. And I mean, there's a lot of American League teams probably that would come in between there too. So, but again, it feels also kind of like splitting hairs based on how close not only the wild card race is for both leagues, but how close the Diamondbacks are to essentially being back in the mix for one of those wild card spots.
Yeah, if I were trying to, if we were extending out the power rankings and seeing where the Diamondbacks landed, I think the Giants have to be ahead of them at this point, at least for me. The Brewers, not necessarily a huge margin, but the Brewers are ahead in the Central right now. They're 8 games over 500. I think they have to be in there. I actually considered putting the Brewers at number 10 over the Cubs. That number 10 spot was tough. There's a lot of different teams that could have occupied that spot in our power rankings. The Reds and D-backs, that's sort of a wash. I would maybe put the Reds ahead just because they have a game on them in the standings right now.
Sure.
But there's, those teams are very similar. The Red Sox, pretty close. The Twins, I guess that, the Twins beat the D-backs in a 3-game series and have a better record. I'd probably put them ahead. The Marlins are maybe the one team ahead of them in the standings right now that I don't think I would necessarily put ahead of them in power rankings. The Marlins don't have as good of a run differential. And just generally looking forward, they have a pretty difficult schedule. So I think I would probably have the Diamondbacks 16th. I think it would be the front 10 that we said, and then in some order, Giants, Brewers, Reds, Red Sox, Twins. I think I'd have the Diamondbacks at number 16. But as you said, it's really close. Like, all of those 10 through 16 teams are basically right on top of each other. So for whatever
the views and opinions of Jesse Friedman do not reflect the views and opinions of PHNX. His Twitter is Jesse N. Friedman at twitter.com or whatever it is. Follow him there and make sure to abuse him for his takes there. But Mo says, I take the D-backs in a 3-game series against the Cuba. The whole island of Cuba? Oh, no, he said Cubs. Never mind. That's right. Yeah. Well, they're going to have to do that because I think they have 7 games left against the Cubs and 4 more against the Reds. So they'll have a chance to prove Jesse wrong by taking on those teams and maybe pulling out some wins. Of course, I'm still worried about Jesse. He's still in San Diego. He refused to come home. And of course, I don't know what to do other than advise him to make sure he stops at Circle K on his way home. Jesse, stop at Circle K, fuel up at Circle K, tell them you're from PHNX. They're not going to give you anything, but maybe they'll play all of our videos for you on whatever gas pump that you're at. But make sure to check out the in-gas entertainment at Circle K, as well as the amazing deals. Don't sleep on the Circle K branded snacks either. But when I say amazing deals, don't miss out on the buy two, get one free Beatbox Hard Teas, buy two, get one free Monster Energy drinks. You can also get Powerades 4 for $5. You'll also get entered to win a chance at a 2023 Ford Big Ben Bronco SUV. There's that weird tier system where you have to fight Damon, and then the winner of that fight has to fight Sean after you get drawn for the winning the car. But all of that's fake and none of it's true. But you could potentially actually win a car by getting yourself some Powerade. So don't miss out on that or any of this great stuff. Right now, text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. And of course, make sure to pick up some Four Peaks at Circle K. Four Peaks beer is the official craft beer of Derek Montilla. It's also the official craft beer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Make sure to check out their Rattle on Red Ale or the wide variety of beers that Four Peaks has to offer. You can also check out the Four Peaks Draft Room at Chase Field, which is a great place to watch a baseball game. Also a great place to drink some beers. It's located on the suite level, and you can actually abandon your seat if you're not happy with where you're at and watch the whole game from down there while eating some delicious chicken tendies. So do not miss out on that. You can check out their events over at fourpeaks.com/events to stay up to date on everything Four Peaks. And of course, follow them on social media at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub, and you can keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks. Please drink responsibly. We did reference those wild card standings. So again, let's take a look at where the Arizona Diamondbacks are, because things are tight, and that's good for the Diamondbacks. Are you still doing this, Damon? Oh my God. My God.
Those are still from last night before the game.
I don't understand what's happening here. He looks at a different website than I do, but I'm fairly sure, unless a win has happened today, that the Diamondbacks are a game out. They are a game out. Jesse's nodding.
Diamondbacks are a game out.
I don't trust myself with anything, so I have to make sure Jesse's nodding when it comes to anything I say. But yeah, Diamondbacks currently one game out. Ahead of them, the Miami Marlins, Cincinnati Reds, Chicago Cubs, all essentially tied for that final third wild card spot. San Francisco Giants have a 1.5 game lead, and then the Phillies have that 3.5 game lead. Phillies have not been very good lately. The San Francisco Giants, not very good lately. I mean, nobody has been very good lately in this race. And honestly, the Diamondbacks still very much have a chance to make up some ground here.
They do. Yeah, they absolutely do. The Cubs are currently losing 4-3 as we speak right now to the Kansas City Royals after 8 innings. So that would certainly be a move in the right direction for the Diamondbacks if that happened. So yeah, there it is. Those are the actual wild card standings. Yeah, D-backs are one game out. It is tricky that I think the one game out is maybe a little deceiving because there are 3 teams standing in their way right now. Yeah. Like the Diamondbacks have to, assuming the Phillies and the Giants stay in, which is granted a fairly big assumption. I don't think that's a given, but just for the sake of argument, if those 2 teams stay in, the Diamondbacks have to be better than the Cubs and the Reds and the Marlins at the end of the season. So it's not just as simple as, chasing down one team that you're a game behind. You're chasing down 3 teams, and you have to outperform all 3 of these teams by a game or more, depending on the tiebreaker situation, in order to get that 3rd spot. So the D-backs are right there. Their playoff odds have very much been moving in the right direction, having won 5 of their last 6 games, but there's still a long way to go here for sure.
Per Fangraphs, the Arizona Diamondbacks playoff odds are currently 28.8%. Not the lowest point of the season, as you can see here, according to this graph, but also definitely not anywhere close to how high they were at one point.
Yeah. I mean, this last week has been huge. The D-backs, I think they hit their lowest point in terms of playoff odds at, I believe it was 13.2%. That was a week ago today. The D-backs.
It's a W. Look, Jesse, it's a literal W. It's a wagon. It's a win. Whatever you want to say it is. I just see a W over the last week.
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, this is exactly what the Diamondbacks needed. And for people wondering if the team was just going to kind of continue to fade down the stretch and never give any appearance of being back in the playoff race, that is not what has happened. The Diamondbacks have come roaring back in this race and have very much put themselves back into this conversation after being, as far as 3.5 games out in the wild card just a few days ago. So they've made some huge progress. But yeah, I mean, if you're wondering, where does 28.8% come from? In a sense, you can kind of think of it as like, well, the Reds have a 1/4 chance, and the Cubs have a 1/4 chance, and the Marlins have a 1/4 chance, and the Diamondbacks have a 1/4 chance. It's not quite that simple because the Phillies and the Giants aren't necessarily guaranteed their spots,
Sure.
but that's essentially what it comes down to. Like, you can't have all 4 of these teams that are like right on top of each other make the playoffs. Only one of those 4 most likely is going to find their way in there. The D-backs have to make sure it's them.
One thing they have to make sure is that they win this series in San Diego, with Jesse bringing them all the good luck in the world while he's there. So let's take a look at the probables once again. We still don't have an official starter for the finale in this series, but we have basically pondered if we could see Zach Davies in this spot, and it sounds like that's a very good possibility.
Yeah, I think things are trending in that direction for Sunday, but again, things are also trending in the direction of San Diego getting copious amounts of rain and us not being able to play that game, and that game turning into the first rain out at
I thought you didn't
Park
believe, Jesse. I thought you didn't believe.
Yeah, well, I still read articles. I still have some degree of respect for the National Weather Service or whatever it's called. So, yeah, we'll see. I will only believe it when I see it, but that is what the reports say. We'll see if we're actually able to play baseball on Sunday. I do think there's some degree of risk, at least according to what the National Weather Service is saying. I think there's some degree of risk for the Saturday night game as well. Things seem to be a lot more favorable for playing that game, but I'm told that tracking tropical storms that are 500 miles away is difficult. So we'll see how this thing shakes out.
Just like the way that we haven't perfected learning how to hit a baseball, we still haven't perfected the whole, knowing what the weather is going to do thing. I do also think that there was some talk on I got a weather alert about that hurricane impacting us here in Arizona. So interesting to see.
Yeah.
But did we lose Jesse, or is he still with us?
He's barely still with us.
He's barely still with us. I don't know.
Am I not actually here?
Yeah, well, it's the weather's starting to come for you early, Jesse. It's because they heard the things you were saying about it. Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. You look terrible. Yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Get him out of here, Damon. Jesse, we'll see you later. But anyway, we'll get you guys some updates from Jesse while he's there in San Diego. But make sure, of course, to follow him because he will be talking to the Arizona Diamondbacks after tonight's game, and he'll also be there tomorrow and Sunday. So Michael wants to know, did the hurricane take Jesse? That might have happened. But I'm pretty sure he'll survive. He's a tough kid. I've seen him be in bigger, better storms than this, so he'll be fine. But I don't know if he has his Shady Rays with him. I hope he does. I'm not sure if he will need his Shady Rays. Is he back? Is this Jesse back? No. Is he mute?
I never honestly thought I left.
Oh yeah, no, okay.
Yeah, maybe you can't hear me.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. It's just there's a delay, but we're good. We're fine. Did you have any more updates before we let you go?
I did want to mention Gino Groover real quick.
Yes.
Diamondbacks draft pick from just a few weeks ago. He's had quite a bit of success so far in the minors. I believe D-backs started him down in rookie ball. They sent him up to high A, so he's up in Hillsboro right now. And he has started 9 for 20. That's a .450 batting average. And there have also been some reports out about some of the sort of underlying stats that he's had so far. Obviously, it's a really small sample size, but something along the lines of his 90th percentile exit velocity being exceptionally high. These are not cheap hits. He is genuinely raking. We'll dive more into this on a future show, but I just wanted to point out Gino Groover is really off to a hot start. There are some questions about his future defensive home. That's something we'll have to monitor. But in terms of the bat, the early returns there are extremely promising.
All right. Well, I still think the storm is coming for you, so we're going to let you go. But appreciate the update and drink plenty of water. Stay safe while you're out there.
Save Jesse.
Everybody's worried about you around here, pal. Everybody's worried.
Hey, man, if I might be here till, Tuesday or Wednesday.
That sounds like a bullshit reason for you to go hang out on the beach is what it sounds like to me. I don't know what.
I might be here till next Saturday. Who knows how long it'll take.
I do have your location on my iPhone, so I will be tracking you at all times. So stay safe. And no, I know your position wherever you're at. But
who gave you location? that sounds. I don't remember approving that. Did you hack into my phone at some point?
You leave your phone unlocked around this joint way too much. But all right, we'll see you on Monday, pal.
All right.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see him on Monday. If you want to be like Jesse and go check out a road game, I can't recommend it enough. I'm not knocking Chase Field, but there are some beautiful ballparks within a very close distance. Damon and Sean almost took the trip out this weekend, but then hurricane thing. They were kind of smart about it. They looked ahead at the weather reports, decided.
If you ask Sean, it's because I'm a bad friend.
Well, that's also true. I mean, but there can be bad weather and Damon can be a bad friend at the same time.
Sure.
Those things aren't mutually exclusive. But I will say that if you do go to an away game and you decide to do it maybe last minute, the best way to get your tickets is by going over to Game Time. Game Time not only has an aesthetically pleasing app, but Game Time will hook you up when you make those last minute decisions with your friends to go watch a sporting event. I know that my trip to Wrigley Field was transcendent. It was one of the best decisions I ever made, and it was absolutely a last-minute decision between me and Mr. Megaran, Mailbag Monday song guy. So anyway, make sure to check out Game Time because it is for procrastinators, and it is for those of you that get FOMO and don't want to miss out on some great concerts, shows, or events. You can snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Damon, Mo's asking, when will you guys have a live caller segment so I can yell at Derek on air? You do that through the DMs on Twitter enough, Mo, as it is. So I think we're good on that. But another couple of things you can do if you do go on a trip to San Diego to watch a Diamondbacks game. Get yourself some Shady Rays, of course, because it's very sunny, even during a hurricane. Jesse was bragging about how sunny it was there. Even during a hurricane, you need some good sunglasses. So make sure to pick up sunglasses built to last by an independent sunglass company that makes a product that is absolutely as good as the more expensive brands and has an even better broken and lost replacement plan, where if you lose them or you break them, even on the first day you own them, Shady Rays told us they will send you out a new pair, no questions asked. Why would they do this? I have no idea. It's like insane. We all break our sunglasses. We all lose them. And that's the reason why this replacement plan is one of the best things you can get when it comes to a pair of sunglasses. You can shop their entire collection here in town at Kierland Commons. And of course, if you don't love your Shady Rays, you get them online. Even if you get them at Kierland Commons, you can either exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal this season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And last, got to get down on PD's favorite drink. PD loves to wink. And when I say that, I don't mean with his eye, because if you ever see him do it, he's really awkward and bad at winking. Like, how hard is that? It's just wink. It's a wink with one eye, but this is a wink with a Y instead of an I. And it is a seltzer with a wink of THC. No alcohol, no calories, nothing like that. It's just the perfect THC CBD balance, and with a little wink of THC in there. That equal dose provides THC of CBD with THC, provides it a very laid back experience, a very enjoyable experience. And of course, if you are new to THC and you're not sure how much you want to try, how much you want to dip your toes into the waters of trying an edible or trying to drink like this, Wink is the perfect drink for you. It's balanced, light, and social. No third-party producers. The Wink is made in-house with 0 calories, sugar, or alcohol. and it tastes like your favorite refreshing flavored seltzer. So you can get them in the 2.5 milligram or 5 milligram cans, and you can find Wink right here in Arizona. Look for Wink at all Sunday Good dispensaries in the Valley and Botanica Dispensary in Tucson. They're now in 12 states nationwide and even recently launched online ordering and home delivery to about a dozen others. So to find the fastest way to get your hands on one, go to drinkwink, that's WYNK.com. And that's all I got, folks. Diamondbacks have a big series with the Padres, but as we have said and will continue to say, every game, every series is important from this point until the end of the season, because we are it's playoff time, baby. The Diamondbacks have to win as much as possible. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. In the meantime, I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Damon, of course, is at Damon Dog with DAWG at the end, and we are Damon's Dogs. You got to bark when you follow him. It's mandatory. Thank you. Also, you can follow our show at PHNX D-backs, but all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, we appreciate your time, except Mo. I don't appreciate your time ever, but I appreciate the rest of you guys, all of you. We love you all. We thank you for your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when Corbin Carroll remains the front runner for the Rookie of the Year.